So you may or may not have seen headlines where people are saying Connecticut Green New Deal. Uh, if you haven't, up until you've seen this video, there's a reason for that. uh, so the Connecticut legislature is a complicated duck of a uh, incompetent politicians. Some of them, anyway. Some of them are great people, sure, maybe. I haven't gotten to too in depth in what they've done over, I don't know, earlier years. But over these last few years, I've been fairly unimpressed by them in an overall. And a lot of this goes back to the previous governor's administration, Daniel Malloy, a person who was elected as a fake progressive, and he didn't have anything to do with this whole Connecticut Green New Deal thing going on. But basically, some of the more progressive people in the Connecticut legislature this year decided, hey, we're gonna come up with a Green New Deal plan, and this was, you know, cruxed on the idea that, oh, we have a new governor, Governor Ned Lamont, yay, and he's all about green policies. Not like people being super excited about Ned Lamont's super green like campaign that he ran. I mean, let's be real. Every single, like, Malloy promised things too, guys. Are you, like, really forgetting? You really forgetting this? It's like this Ned Lamont guy is the guy who self-financed $16 million to lose against one of the worst politicians in Connecticut's history, Joe fucking Lieberman. You know, the guy who killed the public option when Obamacare was trying to pass that, and was like a hardcore proponent of the Iraq War. And he spent $16 million to lose to this guy. $16 million of his own money! Come on! Why are you excited about him? Don't be excited about him. Yes, there was no one else running other than a felon. A corrupt felon who screwed his fucking city out of a whole bunch of shit. You know? But still, why are we getting all excited about this? Anyways, to anyone with a sense of a brain, getting excited about this bill was probably something that would never happen to begin with, other than being really hardcore pushed by environmental proponents in Connecticut. You know, all the other forces that be are working against stuff like this. So the goal of this, the bill started off with nice words like Green New Deal and ideas being pushed around the legislature like, all 100% renewables by 2050, which, you know, for, you know, Green New Deal purposes, for actual, like, hardcore, for actual hard push for, like, a real environmental thing that we need to combat climate change here, that'd be, like, 100% renewables by, like, 2030, but they weren't even talking about that. But then quickly, as this bill started to be introduced, all of that stuff disappeared like magic. You know, it's like, maybe it was never there to begin with. It was just a mythical creature, a ghost floating around in the ether. I don't know. But all of that disappeared. They started calling it the Green Economy Bill, you know, stuff like that. And then of course after that, the legislative 100% renewables disappeared too, and it became this entirely watered down bill that was essentially to fix a problem from Malloy's administration from the previous year. You see, Malloy is what you'd call a fake progressive or like a fake Democrat. Was originally endorsed by the Working Families Party his first time around. I don't think they endorsed him. I don't know if they endorsed him again, but if they did, that's a huge mistake. Because after the first time around, people realized, oh, this Malloy character is not getting shit done very well. Isn't very green energy, or isn't a strong progressive by any stretch of the imagination. Pits people against each other. Can't get budgets passed. All sorts of crap going on with this corrupt motherfucker. And nonetheless, when it comes to green economy kind of stuff, when it comes to environmental issues, he had this problem as well. His group of people, as well as, let's be fair, a stronger base of Republicans before the 2018 election in the House and in the Senate. Maybe, yeah, it was same amount in the Senate, but more in the House. I think a few got kicked off and whatnot. But still, it's not like they were overwhelmingly Republican. It was still mixed. Like, if you're gonna get anything done, you can probably get some stuff done. It's like, regardless, this is Malloy's administration. Blah blah blah. So these people, somewhere down the line, probably has some deep ties to utilities companies, particularly the Republicans in the state. And people like Representative Formica and Representative Ackert and all these, people with investments in various forms of energy and nuclear energy with the Millstone thing. There's a Millstone nuclear facility, which, clean energy. It's like, wait. Yes, it's not a fossil fuel, but I'll get to that later. But pollution, there's like radioactive waste. Come on. What are we? We're gonna pride this thing for being renewable? No, fuck you. Anyways, so like it came out straight from the bullshit propaganda of a utility lines playbook from trying to feed their bottom line. They don't like rooftop solar energy. They don't like solar panels on the rooftops of good old residents of the state of Connecticut. No. All these utility companies have super hardcore problems with that, and they want to kill it as hard as fucking possible, because that's more beneficial to them. And the way that they are trying to do this is this line of like, this net metering compensation, basically, at the high time of the day when it's super bright out, people get surpluses of energy, right? Surpluses of solar energy, and they can sell it back to the grid, sell it back to the power, and get some money at the retail rate of that energy back. Essentially, they're still customers, but they're also, in a sense, producing some energy as well that they're not using and giving back. So it's given at the retail rate, and these utility companies are like, no, we have a problem with that. So the idea that we're going to come up with that has no ground whatsoever in, like, no research, no nothing. This is just our line to make people think like we're on their side, but really it's all about our own interests. Their line was, oh no. Well, the danger here is this might offset costs, and essentially, the non-solar customers will be subsidizing the solar customers. Uh-oh. Here's a reason for you to be against this. And it's like, well, wait. Is that true? Is that at all true? Well, you look at actual research by, like, various groups that have done research, and there's the Berkeley lab, which basically said null, nil, nada, nothing. It's like this is indistinguishable. Well, not indistinguishable, but it's basically I forget the word. Basically, not not a significant enough not a significant enough actual impact to even be considered negligible. That's the word I'm looking for. To be considered negligible. Not negligible. Irrelevant. Garbage. Not a unimportant amount of impact on the electricity rate. Okay. And other studies that say, oh, it has a negative impact on the electricity rate. It's actually beneficial to people. And those are from the more environmental proponents and people like that. So it's like, well, wait a second. So it's either, here's the line of spectrum here. Negligible effect on the electricity rate to positive effect on the retail rate of electricity. The things that actually affect the rate of electricity and why prices go up and down are things like capital expenditures, and the shift in prices for natural gas and things like that. I mean, this is specifically Connecticut, but no, this is everywhere. But you're right, because the study was a more broad study. The Berkeley lab study was a broad study of all the nations, not specifically focused state to state. They had this. Every study has this good old list of things that it doesn't apply to, and individual states is something that this study doesn't apply to. But nonetheless, they also say things like. This is supposed to apply to the, this applies pretty much over to the vast, it's mostly applicable over to the vast majority of states, with the exceptions of states that, use, tons more renewables, and then there might be, a slight difference. The changes state to state are fairly insignificant. Anyways. So there's this net metering thing that they had going on. They're itching at it in 2018, and they're, this net metering, woe is me. This is such a danger. We need to legislate this. And, some of them are doing this on, partisan, I don't know what's going to happen the next election, so I need to fuck over the Democrats before, that was Representative Acker. And this is a hugely badly paraphrased thing that he said. This is not what he said exactly. But he gave a quote to, I believe it was the CT Mirror, where he just elections are coming up, and it's like, what the fuck does that have to do with anything? You mean you're being a partisan hack? Is that what you mean? In not so many words, that's what you're saying? You're being a partisan son of a bitch? Yes, that's, in not so many words, that's what he was saying. So it's just like, okay, fine. So all these people, they get in here, they force in this net metering thing that basically says, we're going to step away from net metering and we're going to go to a tariff compensation. And the whole thing was a mess because it's just like, okay, first off, we don't know what this compensation is going to entail. It's essentially regulated by the government, so we don't know, our solar customers going to get screwed over on the rate here, which is still on the table, and the additional thing was, they ended up passing it, It's a contentious thing that ended up being passed, but afterward, they're just like, oh yeah, by the way, we can't even implement this in time. So we have a problem. We can't even implement this anti-green energy, anti-solar kind of legislative thing that we've passed that also had it's a mixed bill, so it had like a few good, green energy, a few good things, because it's an environmental bill like mixed in. That's how they do it. They just screw you over with the good and the bad all together. It's like, oh yeah, some wins, some losses. What can we say? So they realize quickly we can't even implement this fucker right now. So we need to fix it, and that's where the green economy bill comes in this year. Let's just, instead of doing anything Green New Deal-esque at all, let's just fix this one problem from last year where we were doing something that was really, really, really not green energy, not good for the environment, counterproductive crap that we were doing during Malloy's administration last year. So that's what most of the bill became, was, okay, let's fix this. And rather than, going back to net metering, which works fine right now, and Xing out all that other stuff, they just brushed the tariff thing down the line a little bit. They just pushed it down a ways. Okay, well, this is the timetable that we can work this shitty tariff idea into our policies, 2020, 2021, as long as we make the timetable more manageable so that we can do this in a more adjusted period, we can effectively actually do this legislation that we implemented, actually administer it, we can actually put it in place. It's like, oh, so this is your fix. Great. And as far as the watered down green energy stuff, barely anything happened. Barely anything. It was like minute things, like things you see, small increases to the caps, because they cap things. They cap the small increases to the caps on things like virtual net metering. It's like insignificant. The cap was small to begin with, so the increase on the cap was, oh, this is also small. Like virtually indistinguishable increases on residential solar. Just nonsense across the board. And they call it the Green Economy Bill. It's like, literally, the only thing it was there to do was to solve a problem with an industry that isn't even a significant part of Connecticut's energy right now, that where they were trying to screw over residential solar and fuck over solar panels the year before, and then they're like, oh yeah, let's deal with this problem we've created now. What? So there's the green economy thing. A whole load of bullshit. They passed it, overwhelming bipartisan support. It's like, of course, all the Republicans can get on board this thing, because how uncontroversial this bill became. And it didn't do dick. Watered down is like an understatement. It did not do dick. That was a painful read. There was a few things in there that they added about, like, oh yeah, biodiesel, the ergonomic, it's, I don't know, aerial digestion. It's like, whatever. I don't care about things decomposing and biofuel and all this other bullshit. It's still not what, like, let's focus on wind. Let's focus on wind. And this, they actually did do in another bill. So there were a few other environmental bills passed this year, and a few that failed to pass this year. And arguably the best one was an offshore wind bill, which is essentially up to 2,000 megawatts, or 30% of Connecticut's energy load, by 2030, going to offshore wind. And when they say up to, this is the big hint here, is doesn't mean that they'll get to 30%. It means that they're allowing us to allowing us to go up to 30% if our government so chooses to do so. It was like, so it could end up at 20%, could end up at 10%. All depends on how lazy Lamont's buddies are deciding to implement this kind of stuff. But nonetheless, on the 7th, Lamont decided to sign this into law. He's a big old happy press release behind it and everything. After there was, overwhelming bipartisan support in both legislatures. I think it was only one person who voted against, if I'm remembering which bill this was correctly. You can double check this thing if I'm wrong, but this guy's against a bunch of the stuff. So this person's against a bunch of stuff, so I don't want to. I'm not gonna. I'm pretty sure it was Representative or Senator Representative Piscopo, whoever the hell this person is. Piscopo is the name to remember. Is the one person who's willing to fight against certain bills that are essentially arguably good for the state of Connecticut. The one stray in the room who decides to fight progress. Whether it was the wind progress or another bill along these, I'm not going to be 100% sure without looking back at my notes. But Piscopo is a regressive politician, regardless which one it is. So that bill was good. This was the essential win of the year for the wind win of the year for Connecticut, right? By 30% by 2030, that's like okay, but like we really need to be pushing harder. A much more progressive push for this kind of stuff. The environment's not waiting for us. It's the climate's changing, folks. We need to act. So it's like a few other things that ended up passing. We had a fairly insignificant bill in relations to the Connecticut's already existing ban on fracking, or fracking waste at this point, because essentially Connecticut, this is a place where it's nice to be bipartisan. We don't have anything to frack, under the ground, so it's pretty easy to keep the fracking industry out of Connecticut. But it's even, essentially we've had bill after bill after bill of keep the fracking waste out. And this is yet another bill passed away to strengthen this against fracking waste coming into Connecticut kind of mentality that we got going through our legislature. And this is fantastic because why at all should we promote such an industry? Anyways, the other things came through the budget, and that was a ban on plastic bags, which may be ineffectual for all we know, and something for electric vehicles, for zero emissions vehicles, and the goal essentially there was basically 50% zero emissions, like cars and small trucks and stuff, by 2030. It wasn't 2050, right? 2030, yeah. And 30% for the buses by 2030. It's like, oh, that's nice. That's kind of nice. That's a little push, a little win in there, thrown into the budget. I mean, that should have been in the green economy bill, but who is our legislature to come up with smart ideas? campaignable kind of like punchlines and stuff like that. It's like, oh yeah, we did this and it was in the green economy. No, the one thing, this is the one and two things we did were not in the green economy bill. Okay, whatever. I'm so goddamn confused here. Fucking convoluted legislature, not knowing what the fuck to do. And yeah, this is like the energy, the vehicle's great, the wind, offshore wind, great. And then there are a number of things they failed on, like a bill to get rid of single-use styrofoam containers. Nope. That didn't get through. Passed one, failed the other, or I should double check. Passed one, failed the other, passed one, failed the other, passed one, failed the other, passed one, failed the other. Died in the Senate. Don't you love it when something dies in the Senate? Yeah, that was HB 5384. Single-use styrofoam containers. Failed in the Senate, passed through the House, had a full host of opposition from the Republicans in the House. Apparently they love their styrofoam. Please, Acker and all you other friends, start munching. Munch on that styrofoam. I bet you it's very delicious. And then we had the other failures here. There would have been a nice an environmental infrastructure fund that could have gone up for the Connecticut Green Bank. Nope. Passed the Senate, died in the House. We're switching directions here right now. Passed the Senate, died in the House. And then the other one, substitute for SB 588. And this one's essentially would have been a ban on offshore drilling. Which again, we don't really have offshore drilling in Connecticut to begin with. We don't have much of a shoreline, and we have some, the Sound basically. And this passed the Senate and ran out of time because this was relatively late in the session, so didn't get to the House this legislative session. They're just like, whatever. And as can be expected, there's probably none of this stuff, not the marijuana stuff, not the any of the stuff that we wanted to get through here that didn't get through. None of this stuff's going to special session. They're not doing anything with this. We could do a hard push for that kind of stuff, maybe. Like, do a special session. Get this shit passed. Oh, I want early voting. Can we get ranked choice voting already? That was another one there. It was like, okay, so this wasn't even let's do ranked choice voting. It was, would you be willing to do a study on the effects of ranked choice voting, or whether or not we should have it in our state? And the answer there was no. It's like, why? It's just a study. It's just a fucking study. We should have ranked choice voting. We shouldn't even be debating a study. We should just be voting on ranked choice voting and saying yes. But apparently we can't even do a fucking study. What's wrong with us? Anyways. So, Connecticut might be better than other states when it comes to some environmental stuff, but compare that to New England. We are the snail in the room. Compare that to what we need to be doing. We are not even close. This is a sad day. Sad year for environmental legislation in Connecticut. And to be fair, you always gotta think, is it better? Have we gotten something better than what we had there before? And the answer is yes. We have some policy coming forward that we didn't have before, but we need to be moving. We need to be going faster. We need to be rolling it out much quicker, and we need to be getting these stupid, hacky, utility-loving, fossil fuel-loving, nuclear-loving, regressive politicians out of there! Out of there! Out of there! Let's vote them out, folks. Let's get some real people to vote for in opposition, not these people who throw mail letters and then, well, I have this endorsement and I'm a Democrat. You're gonna vote for me, right? Oh, what do I stand for? I'll just throw out 2 issue titles and not really say anything about them. You'll vote, right? You got something to come out for right now. It's the D in my name and it's not Dick. Though if you want to come out for my dick as well, I'm a dude. The D is for delusional. At least for some of these folks. At least for most of these candidates here in the good old state of Connecticut. As I say very rarely, but I would like to say now, please, like, share, subscribe, look into my Patreon page, please, do something, do whatever you can, and let's fight for an economy, to believe in a green economy. Let's fight for a real Green New Deal on the national level, and maybe next year in Connecticut as well, and let's kick some fucking ass!